The phone rang in the early morning. We woke up worried, like you always do when it rings at that hour, because there's no good news that can't wait until morning. My mom got up and answered. I heard that she was trying to calm someone down. I got up too and asked her what was going on. My mom looked at me with a confused expression I hadn't seen before. I asked her again, and the only thing she managed to do was put the call on speaker. I heard my sister's voice on the other end of the line. Come, please come. There's a dead woman here. She went into the closet and I can't get her out. I asked her what she was talking about. I asked her if she was on drugs or something like that, even though I knew my sister was the last person in the world who would use drugs. She got out. I was using the Ouija board and the dead person got out. Good evening, dear community. I have to give a warning. The following story may cause certain reactions in some of you who are sensitive, very sensitive, or prone to psyching yourselves out. The following story talks about manifestations that are passed on by telling the story. And I believe that without a doubt, this is one of those episodes that will make many listeners feel different, that will make them feel like they might be experiencing something similar to what is being told here. Please remember that if at any moment you feel this way, try to see this only as entertainment. Please try to listen calmly and don't feel threatened. If you can't do it, I recommend that you don't continue. Please skip this episode. Seriously, the last thing I want is for you to end your year feeling uneasy today. Today, I don't want that to be you. The following are the protagonists of Relatos de la Noche. I suppose that to tell my story, I have to divide it into two parts. One is just as important as the other, so I ask for your patience if my story gets too long as a whole. This is the story of my family, but particularly the story of Gaby, my older sister. Ever since we were little, I've known that my sister tends to push her luck too far. She's very fearful, but at the same time, for some reason, she takes too many risks. It's as if she needs to feel in danger. It sounds crazy, but that's how she is. Back then, one of my aunts lived in Texcoco in a big house, and we spent a Christmas there. We had made some little friends on the street, and every day they would come for us to invite us out. That's how we got to know the whole neighborhood, its secrets, and even its legends. One in particular because the kids liked to run through the land that surrounded it, a very old little wooden house from which smoke was always coming out, as if they had a small chimney inside that was always lit, smoke that smelled like burning fresh grass. Everyone would run around the house and return to the street like it was a dare. And that's because there lived a lady whom everyone was afraid of, a black lady, with an accent that no one recognized, one that I still can't identify. My sister and I never walked around the house like that. We didn't know the lady and we didn't want to bother her. It wasn't that we were afraid of her, because at that time we weren't. One day when we were sent to the store, we passed by there alone by the lady's house. I remember that the door was open, and my sister stopped and stared. I tried to pull her by the hand, but she, with her usual curiosity, took 2 steps toward the little house. Wanting to look inside, wanting to know if it was as strange a house as the kids said. And from behind the little house, the woman came out and greeted us, made a gesture as if telling us to wait by bringing her fingers together, and hurried into her house. It smelled strongly of rue, of burnt rue. The woman looked at us in a very kind way, happy because we weren't afraid of her, because we had respected her and hadn't run around her house. If she were a monster, at least that's what I wanted to think. For a moment, I imagined myself as that lady, alone, with a bunch of kids treating you like a witch just for being different. The lady was wearing a long skirt and a loose blouse with flowers, and she had a cloth on her head, covering it completely but still showing her hair. When she came out of her house, she ran out again, holding a box in her hands, signaling us to come closer. I thought she was going to come toward us, but she stayed at her door, smiling. I didn't move toward her, not because I didn't trust her, but because I had been taught not to approach strangers' houses. My sister, on the other hand, moved forward, as carefree as she was, so trusting. She walked up to the lady who opened the box in front of her, smiling, as if offering her what was inside. Cookies, I thought from afar, or something she was offering her to eat. My sister stood still without saying anything, looking at the contents of the box. I stayed back, waiting for her to take it so we could continue on our way back to my aunt's house. And there was a long wait, maybe just moments, but it felt very long, as my sister didn't move. The lady kept smiling, and my sister stayed silent and still. "What is it?" I asked her from a distance. "Gaby, what is it?" I asked again. My sister turned toward me slowly and started to walk. She moved forward, and I saw that she was crying. Her face was serious, but she had tears in her eyes. She came up to me and pulled me so we could leave, but I wanted to see what was in the box. The lady was now looking at me, moving the box forward as if offering it to me too, as if inviting me to look at it. She was smiling. My sister pulled my arm so hard that she hurt me, and then she started running. I felt like we were in danger, so I ran too. "Hey!" A scream echoed behind me, and I turned around, just me. The lady was standing on the sidewalk, and now with a very angry, very upset face, she put her finger across her lips, as if warning me that we should stay quiet. When we got to my aunt's house, my sister was shaking and couldn't stop crying. My aunt asked us what had happened to us, if someone had done something to us. I didn't want to say anything because I had taken that lady's gesture as a warning. However, my sister was in such bad shape that I felt something was going to happen to her, that she was going to die of a heart attack or something like that. That's why I finally told my aunt what happened. That my sister had gone to the lady's house and they had shown her something in the box. My aunt started pressing my sister. She told her that she had to tell her, that she had to share what had happened so she could help her, that she shouldn't be afraid. I preferred not to say anything else. I felt like my aunt was about to storm out in a rage and go look for that woman and get herself into trouble. My sister calmed down and stopped crying. I asked my aunt to take me out of the room. When she did, she finally confessed what she had seen, what was inside the box. My aunt ran out shouting curses, and at that moment she was furious. At the lady's house, she yelled, and the whole neighborhood came out to see. My aunt, enraged, knocked and kicked the door, but no one answered. I was caring for my sister, who kept trembling. I kept asking her what she had seen, but she didn't dare to tell me. And outside there was a commotion. The neighbors had come out to see what was going on. Finally, my sister told me, as if she had no other choice. As if she knew that if she didn't tell me, someone else would end up doing it. There was an arm inside, a little arm like a baby's. Old rotten, she told me. I knew she wasn't making it up. She would never do that. Maybe that's why I threw up. My aunt came back and apologized for sending us alone to the store. She told us that if she could, she would send us back home. That's when I finally realized why we were there, when I understood that it wasn't a Christmas vacation, but that my mom had to be under supervision because she had relapsed again. She had struggled with mental health issues when she was younger and had suffered a serious relapse in those weeks. That's why luckily they took such good care of me that I hadn't noticed how bad things were. My aunt said she would see what she could do to keep us safe so that we could return to my mom as soon as possible. Of course, all of this without telling her what had happened, so as not to worry her too much, and especially not to upset her mood, which was finally improving. A doctor friend of my aunt went to see my sister that night because no matter how hard we tried, she just couldn't stop crying. And the phone rang. It was my mom. She asked how we were doing, and I lied to her. I told her we were fine. She asked for my sister, and I said she went out with my aunt to buy dinner. I couldn't tell her they were in the room, that a doctor was checking her, because she would have almost died of fear. My mom told me it hadn't been a good night, that my sister should please call her as soon as she could, and I knew there was something my mom wanted to say, but she didn't dare say it to me. At that time, they hid a lot from me, thinking I couldn't handle it. My aunt called her a little while later. I saw her bring my sister to the phone in that state, and I saw her pretend that everything was fine to calm my mom on the other end of the line. They got us ready to go back the next day. My mom was at a childhood friend's house near the mountain in my city. She also came back to our house. The next night, the three of us were already having dinner together again. Sometime later, I found out the real reason why my mom called that night. It was because of something she saw when she was left alone in her friend's house, when they had to leave her for a moment, even though it was a situation they tried to avoid. Almost at the same time, my aunt went to knock on the lady's door. My mom saw something. That night, my mom was washing the dishes after dinner when she saw a figure walking through the garden. Believing someone had broken in, she went to check. The house she was in was far from everything. There wasn't another one nearby, only trees and a dirt road. It was, on one hand, the ideal setting to clear your mind of worries and fears, but also a dangerous one for hallucinating, as often happened to him. When he went out to check, he saw a figure pass by out of the corner of his eye again and followed it, trying to see if it was something real or not. Just as he was leaving the garden area before reaching the trees, he saw something. A woman with her back turned, barefoot, with dark skin and a long skirt, a floral blouse, and her head covered with an orange cloth. She had her arms stretched out like a scarecrow and was moving her head from side to side until she suddenly stopped, as if she had heard him behind her. When she started to turn toward my mom feared it was a hallucination, that she was about to see something horrible, so she covered her eyes and groped her way back inside. My mom never knew that what she saw was the same woman she loved. 200 kilometers away, it had scared my sister in a way that changed her life forever. What did my mom see? We'll never know. If it was a hallucination caused by her illness, I don't understand why she saw something that looked particularly like that, exactly like that. It doesn't make any sense. You know what was strangest? That we told Grandpa about this a few weeks later. We told my dad about it over the phone, even though he lives in the United States. We also told the person who became my sister's best friend about it years later. What we never told was that the lady was a black woman, nor how she was dressed or the position of her arms. But on all three occasions, they told us that that same night, or within the next 3 days, they noticed someone near their house. through the window with their back turned but very close, as if turning their head to listen, always in the same position, as if they knew when their story was being told. But don't worry, they've never done anything truly dangerous, just appeared. That woman's house in Texcoco, my aunt told us she left it shortly after that first night, and it's still abandoned to this day. We'll continue in a moment, but if you like stories like this, long stories, don't forget to leave us a comment. Tell us if you prefer short and varied stories, or if you'd like us to focus on a single topic per episode. It's very important for us to know what kind of content you enjoy the most. Thank you for joining us for another year. Thank you for being part of Relatos de la Noche. And of course, wait. It's time to continue with the rest of this story. Let's continue. From that encounter, if we can call it that, my sister experienced different events that should have made it clear to her that the paranormal not only exists, but that it was always very, very close to her, brushing against her, but she never had enough respect for it. All the time she gets obsessed with something different, like having her cards read, tarot, or having spells and rituals done so things go well at work. As my mom got better from her condition, it seemed like my sister started adopting some of the behaviors that my mother once had and overcame. She was sure that everyone wanted to hurt her, everyone. She only trusted her best friend and a few family members. She got a job working from home. She's very good at what she does and decided to go out as little as possible. Her life was peaceful, and she only went out occasionally to socialize. We and her trusted circle have to go to her house. Suddenly, she started visiting my mom a bit more, especially when I wasn't around. She was very interested in the family history, especially my mom, her youth, and how the first symptoms of her illness first appeared. She would ask her very specific questions, and almost always in a way that made it seem like she already knew the answer, as if she sought to confirm information. Information? Since she was more open and in a good mood, one afternoon we decided to visit her, just like that without warning. We were going to invite her out to dinner. When we got to her house, we knocked. What's going on? We thought we heard her voice from inside, and we went in. The door was open. Inside, everything was dark. It smelled bad. Dirty dishes were piled up all over the kitchen, as if she hadn't washed a single one in weeks or months. The windows were closed and covered with those curtains that block out the light completely. "My daughter, you have a mess here," said my mom. She opened a window and instinctively started to tidy up. A laugh came from my sister's room. "I'm not joking. You can't live like this. This is horrible. Tell me when you don't have time or you're sick and can't clean, and I'll gladly come and help you." That's what my mom said. My sister answered from her room, and her voice sounded different, like she had a sore throat.
"I don't like anyone coming. I don't like people coming here. I don't like anyone coming. I don't like people coming here."
We approached the bedroom door. My mom stood still in front of it, but I dared to open it. My sister wasn't there. There was no one there, but that room was darker and smelled worse than the rest of the house. It wasn't just the smell of rotten food on the plates. It smelled like rotten meat in there. It smelled like dead bodies. I remembered that smell. It smelled like Mrs. Uribe's house When she died, no one noticed until the stench from her body spread through the whole street a few days later. It smelled exactly like that. We closed the door and got out of there. We didn't want my sister to suddenly feel intimidated when she arrived and found us there, judging the condition she was living in. We left everything as we found it and decided to leave, and then calmly think about what we would do and how we could help her. But when we got in the car, when we hurried to leave before my sister arrived, we both asked the same question at the same time. Did you see what was on the bed? And both of us, without mentioning it, without having mentioned it at that moment, we saw something on the bed. A Ouija board, made of thick, almost black wood with burnt edges. A board that I recognized. I knew it. A Ouija board made from the wood of a graveyard tree. Worked on and kept vigil over for several nights. A Ouija board that belonged to my best friend and that I once played with. One that he made sure to show off to everyone in high school because he said it gave guaranteed results. What I didn't understand was how it ended up in the hands of someone as sensitive as my sister, because besides, she didn't have any connection with my friend. And now it was in Gaby's hands, of someone who would be willing to do anything they said shouldn't be done just to get better results, to provoke the most intense reactions. We decided to invite my sister to have lunch the next day instead. We told her that we would pick her up to go to a place she liked, but that we would pick her up shortly before the reservation. This was so she wouldn't think we were going to go inside. However, the next day when we arrived, my mom and I showed up at her door, knocking, with the excuse that we had to urgently use the bathroom. We went into the house and the place was spotless, squeaky clean. It smelled of incense and flowers. When we were completely surprised, my sister just said, she told me they were going to come in, but everything is clean now, not like yesterday. What are you talking about, Gaby? Who told you what? I asked him. My sister just smiled and said it was nothing, that we should go into the bathroom calmly, that we should go eat. We should calmly go to the bathroom, then eat. The conversation during the meal was completely normal. In fact, it was the most normal I'd seen my sister act since we were kids. Everything went so well that for a moment we thought we had read everything wrong. That maybe this time, whatever my sister was doing was actually going well for her. But no, of course not. We were far from understanding the gravity of what he was going through. Six months went by. 6 months in which I hardly saw my sister Gaby, although my mom assured me that she talked to her every day and that she was doing well. And it was December of 2024. The phone rang in the early morning. We woke up worried, like you always do when the phone rings at that hour. There's no good news that can't wait until morning. My mom got up and answered. I heard she was trying to calm someone down. I got up too and asked her what was going on. My mom was looking at me with a confused expression I didn't recognize. I asked her again, and the only thing she managed to do was put the call on speaker. I heard my sister's voice on the other end of the line. Come. Please come. There's a dead woman here. She went into the closet and I can't get her out of there. I asked her what she was talking about. I asked her if she was on drugs or something like that, even though I knew my sister was the last person in the world who would use drugs. She came out. I was playing with the Ouija board and the dead woman came out. My mom stayed on the line trying to calm my sister down, She thought it could be one of the hallucinations she'd had before. She always knew that what she had could be hereditary. I called my friend Ricardo, Ricky as we call him, who lives 2 houses down from my sister's place. I asked him to please take a look at her house to see if everything was okay. My mom had asked my sister to wait for us on the sidewalk, not to stay inside. My friend confirmed that to me, that my sister had gone outside and was talking on the phone outside the house, on the street. "Hey, but you're not alone," he told me. "There's someone peeking out from the upstairs window. We'll be there in a few minutes." I flew over every speed bump on the way and ran every red light. I had told my friend to look after my sister from a distance, not to get close without disturbing her more. But when I arrived, he told me he had lost sight of her. He didn't know if she went back into the house or if she walked down the street toward the area that was darker than usual that night. There were no streetlights working on that street. I asked her to wait for us at the door. "Please don't leave. Don't let anyone leave." My mom and I went into my sister's house. Completely dark. I turned on the flashlight on my phone. The living room and the kitchen were empty. There were dirty dishes, but not like last time. I remembered what Rick said the first time we played with the Ouija board when Gaby had borrowed it. He said no, that you should never under any circumstances play alone. Never on Day of the Dead and never in December. Upstairs. Someone ran upstairs. I told my mom to wait, but she didn't listen to me. We both went upstairs. You couldn't see anything but the smell. Again. There was a smell of death that we remembered from the last time. I managed to see that someone went into my sister's room. I could see part of a dirty nightgown. Then we heard something go into the closet. Then, when I peeked in, I managed to see the door finish closing all the way. Was someone there? I stood there. 5 seconds. 10, 20. I didn't dare go in and see. "Gaby?" I called my sister by her name, but no one answered. From the doorway downstairs, my friend shouted at me. He told me my sister was outside in the street. My mom and I ran downstairs. My mom picked up my sister, who looked very, very bad, and I told my friend that there was someone inside to call the police. I went to take my sister to the hospital with my mom. She was having a panic attack. My friends stayed waiting for the police to arrive and go upstairs to check. And they did, but they didn't find anyone. From the hospital, I asked my friend to please keep an eye on my sister's house. I told him I knew someone was there. I just wanted to know if it was a real person, something physical, or if it was something paranormal. I mean, I really wanted my friend to get in touch with me and tell me that someone had come out. Something that could explain it in a more normal way. I don't know. At that point, I preferred to think that someone was taking advantage of my sister's condition. It would be easier to help her than if she was getting involved with things we don't understand. With things that go far beyond our understanding. My friend got in touch with me. He told me that someone had left the house. A woman with straight gray hair, wearing a gray nightgown, who walked very slowly. He said she stopped right in front of his window, from where he could see her through a barely noticeable gap in the curtain. He said he knew she was looking at him and that she had her arms stretched out to the sides like a scarecrow. I told him to close the doors and call the police. Luckily, he did. By the time the police arrived again, there was no one there. My sister got better over time. There were no signs of this Ouija board, nor of any woman. Gaby refuses to talk about that, or about what she did, or about what she wanted to know. She always changes the subject on us. My best friend assured me he didn't have his Ouija board, but he never knew how it disappeared from his house. And that happens. The boards that have been worked on look for whoever they can hurt the most. Gaby lives with us again. And even though sometimes I have to take care of her almost as much as I take care of my mom, I prefer that over knowing they're far away, alone, at risk. And even though both parts of this story seem disconnected, it really catches my attention. A lot. The position of the arms of both entities, of both incarnations of evil. I don't know what one has to do with the other, and even if I wanted to, I feel like I'm better off not knowing, not understanding. Like I said, it's been a year of peace, of supposed calm, and I'm finally daring to share this story. Only if something happens, and I hope it doesn't, will I write to you again. If anyone has any idea what might be happening, what's at the root of what we've experienced, I will read your answers carefully and attentively. If someone sees a woman with her arms outstretched outside their house, although I don't really believe it, but if someone sees her, I'm sorry. I know it's partly my fault, but I'm very sure she can't do anything to you. Rest well. Have a very good night.